So LeBron James is now a Philadelphia 76er, and at first I was going to make the video saying like this came out of left field, this was very weird, but more when I thought about it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, LeBron was saying on the Lakers he wasn't a third option, and that's because he wasn't a third option. He's actually now a fourth option, right behind Jalen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe. I put LeBron above Joel Embiid just because, like, Embiid is always hurt. You know, you're not really sure how long or how many minutes Embiid's going to play night to night, when he's going to play. And that's not a jab at Joel Embiid. I'm definitely more critical of Joel Embiid as a player. However, now that Embiid is kind of past his prime, and his prime was sadly cut short, I do want to show him a lot more respect and a lot more flowers when talking about him. I do think that I have some more criticisms, but that's besides the point. We're here to talk about LeBron James and the fact that he is now in Philadelphia. It's kind of came out of left field. We kind of knew for a while that Jalen Brown and Braun were kind of in talks about Philadelphia. We know that Miami, Cleveland, and the Warriors were all seen as kind of front runners to get LeBron, just because, you know, it has a cleaner story. You know, LeBron returning home to Akron for one last time, one last dance. LeBron kind of rebuilding his relationship with the Miami Heat and, you know, what kind of culture there is there. And LeBron kind of bearing the hatchet and joining Steph Curry and the Warriors. Now, granted, there's reasons why none of those really worked out. The Warriors one is the most obvious because, I mean, Kevin Durant got flamed for his entire career. Basically, his whole legacy was defined by joining Steph and the Warriors. LeBron would have a bit more grace just because I think the rivalry between LeBron and the Warriors was, you know, kind of not flamed out, but like in the sense that like that legacy is already long past them. So kind of having a last dance kind of miracle kind of dream team would be kind of cool. We did see it with that Olympic team where they recently won gold, but I really don't think I wanted to see LeBron on the Warriors. It just didn't really make a lot of sense to me for the long term. LeBron in Miami, that's another tricky one. I think LeBron actually would have been a really good fit, with some reports saying that Duncan Robinson's going to be re-signing with the Miami Heat. At least that's what I've heard from some people. So, you know, there's more shooting. LeBron could have kept on the perimeter, kind of, I think, fitting that shooting guard position for once in his career, where he would just kind of have to play make, you know, shoot a few threes, that kind of thing. You know, develop some dangerous pick and roll and pick and pop plays with Giannis and Bam. And with Cleveland, I think it made the most sense to everyone just because, you know, they needed a small forward, because the narrative of LeBron coming home, like that all made sense. But I think LeBron already did that story, and with Cleveland kind of underperforming in the most recent postseasons, I think LeBron made the right call not to go home. Philadelphia is interesting. I do think that there is a narrative. He's basically doing what he could have done for the Knicks had the Knicks not won last year's championship, which was come to a big-time city, a big-time market, and potentially help them bring a championship back home. The Philadelphia 76ers haven't had a finals appearance since 2001, and I don't think they've won a championship since, like, the 70s. You know, with like Dr. J and Moses Malone. So LeBron bringing a championship to Philadelphia would be interesting. But at the same time, I do think that Philadelphia also kind of fits perfectly when it comes to roster chemistry and roster construction. The Philadelphia 76ers were going to have a, I believe, perceived starting lineup of Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jalen Brown, Dean Wade, I believe, would have been their starting power forward, and Joel Embiid. And that's a very interesting team. I don't think that team was going to win anytime soon. Embiid's health has always been kind of a big issue. Dean Wade is a great stretch four, but you really want someone who can play defense on that kind of roster. Jalen Brown is kind of cool as a number 1A, number 1B type of guy. Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, you know, great pieces. But I do think that there was 3 key issues when it comes to that roster. 1, it's defense. That's the biggest one. 2 is playmaking, because yes, Maxey's a good playmaker. VJ Edgecombe has shown bright spots. Jalen Brown has shown bright spots. And Joel Embiid is, I think, the second or third best playmaking big in the NBA right now, right behind Jokic and I believe Karl Anthony Towns with this most recent finals run. However, I do think that spacing is also another big question. You know, Maxey's a good spacer. Edgecombe, he's good, but I don't think he's elite or prolific. Embiid can space for a big, but you really don't want him being the primary three-point shooter for the team. And Jalen Brown, he's not really a three-point spacer. He can definitely fire it at a decent clip, but he's more of a slasher, interior threat, mid-range threat. And yeah, I think there's other questions where, like, with Embiid's health, with his knees kind of giving away, he can't put a lot of weight and gravity in the interior when it comes to rebounding. We saw that the Philadelphia 76ers were trying double big lineups where they were grabbing a lot of rebounds from their power forwards, or rather taking centers to fit the power forward position just to grab rebounds where Embiid couldn't. I do think that Embiid still has a lot of gas in the tank for good playoff runs if he can stay healthy. I think we saw that when they had their upset against the Boston Celtics. But yeah, I just think that really what this team needs is defense, secondary or primary playmaking, three-point shooting, and rebounding. And I think with LeBron, he kind of fits all of that except for defense. At 41, 42 years old, you really don't want LeBron being your primary pointed attack defender or really helping too much on the team defenses. I think that at this point of LeBron's career, though I'm not going to say he's a negative defensively, he's definitely not a positive either. He's kind of just like a neutral, like third or fourth or maybe even second best kind of defender on a team. Like, it's passable, that's what I'm trying to get at. When it comes to the other skills and other areas I was talking about, I think it makes a lot of sense. LeBron, since his time on the Lakers, he has really been developing his three-point shot. I mean, the iconic "le fuck you" threes are kind of what comes to mind. Just kind of a quick, he looks at the ball, one dribble, pops it up, and it just goes in. But yeah, I think LeBron could just kind of sit in the corners, drain a few threes when needed. I think Maxey, Edgecombe, and even Embiid will be taking some of that pressure off from him. So his 3 points are going to be a lot more open than I think they should in most instances. LeBron's passing, I think, is the main thing that he's going to be bringing to this team. I mean, I was a firm believer since the 2020 NBA championship for the Lakers that LeBron should have stayed the Los Angeles' kind of full-time point guard. And yeah, I just, I see him kind of taking on this stretch four, point forward kind of position with Philadelphia in a way that really can take his game to a new level. We've seen LeBron as like this slashing interior threat from his Cavalier years, both the first and second stint. We've seen kind of the completed game that he can have from 2018, from his 2013 finals run. And, we've seen point LeBron. So seeing him now kind of back in a point forward position, a stretch four to stretch, to a now like stretch four kind of point forward type of player, it's definitely something that's going to be interesting. That being said, I think the most underrated part of LeBron joining Philadelphia is that I think he's still going to do a good enough job rebounding. LeBron kind of iconically is this player who has averaged 27, 7, and 7 his entire career. Maybe that number has dipped by now, but that's really what LeBron is. He's this complete can-do-it-all player. And I can see a career where LeBron is still going to be putting up double-doubles, carrying the load when it comes to cleaning the glass. If Embiid's health is going to need him to stop grabbing rebounds as much, LeBron might have several games where he's going to have double-digit rebounds. And not only is he going to be cleaning the glass, but then he can kick the ball out, he could finish inside, he could find the right post moves. I think that it's going to be a very sneaky way LeBron's going to kind of situate himself. And look, I think there are other teams that I think LeBron would have been better for. I mean, obviously the Knicks come to mind, like if the Knicks didn't win a championship this year, like a forward rotation of Mikal Bridges, OG, Braun, Josh Hart, like that is foul, right? But obviously he's not going to do that anymore for obvious reasons. It doesn't make sense. It becomes more ring chasing than legacy building at that point. For me, I think he would have been a great fit for the Brooklyn Nets. I was actually going to make a video on that. However, I kind of was a little busy this week, so I didn't really get to do it. But it would have been cool because, Brooklyn's trying to do like pace and space, playmaking, spacing, Your defense comes from the fact that everyone's 6'9". So like LeBron would have been a cool fit there. He was never going to choose Brooklyn, but just, talking right now about like some theoretical fits for LeBron. I think LeBron's contract is very interesting because it's a 2-year vet minimum with a player option. So there is a world where maybe they win a championship and LeBron decides he's going to stay one more year. Or maybe they're kind of just like a shot or two away from winning it all and he decides he's going to stay a year. But I don't think that's true. I think the vet minimum is like a mandatory 2 years kind of deal. So LeBron, I think, took the player option because I do believe that 2027 is likely going to be his last year. He's going to, play. Whatever happens is going to happen. Then he's going to decline his player option and then he's going to go into retirement. I think even if they won a championship, he is still going to retire. And I guess that leads to my final conversation, which is, what does this do for LeBron's legacy? And the answer is, I don't think much. I think that this is clearly the twilight section of LeBron's career, or like the abyss at this point, like absolute darkness. Not like because he can't play anymore, but like the idea that like LeBron's did what he has to do basically. Whatever your opinion is on him, it's not going to change with one more championship. I mean, one more championship, he's still going to have one less than Jordan. He's going to still be on super teams. He's still going to be doing all of that. But at the same time, like, you could say that LeBron is the type of player where on every iteration of a team, he has dominated in some fashion. If they win a championship and they give him the finals MVP for whatever reason, I mean, at that point, the guy has had, 3 to 4 finals MVPs for 4 different teams? Like, that would be very impressive. I'm pretty sure, like, absolutely unheard of. If you're a Boston Celtics fan, I think you really dislike this outcome. If you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you're a little bummed out. If you're a Warriors fan, you're bummed out. If you're a Miami fan, I feel for you. But I think with Giannis and Bam, you guys actually have a really good chance. Like, yes, the spacing is atrocious, but I do also think, in a weird way, Bam and Giannis, if healthy, can be so dominant in the interior that, like, you really don't have to worry about it too much. Just, hopefully, what's his face? God, what's his name? I don't remember his name. He played for the Nuggets recently. Tim Hardaway Jr. That's who he was. Miami Heat signing Tim Hardaway Jr. Hopefully he has like a good year where, is just consistent from 3. Actually, what I'm looking at, he put up 14 points on 40% shooting from the 3-point line. So that's actually really good for last season. So hopefully, Tim Hardaway Jr., he does well. I think you guys got Duncan Robinson recently too. Never mind. It looks like Duncan Robinson's actually staying in Detroit. But, like, again, having Tim Hardaway Jr. as, like, a starting shooting guard to pace and space, that's going to be good. If you're a Knicks fan, you really don't worry about this, period. Like, I still think that the Knicks, Thunder, and Spurs are going to be the main frontrunners for the finals this year. Interestingly enough, with all the, I guess, trades that OKC has done, I don't know if they're still front runners, but I mean, you still have the core 3 of Chet, J. Will, both J-Dubs actually, and SGA. I don't know why I spaced on SGA's name. Like, is there a universe where Philly is like the 4th or 5th most likely best team to win the championship? Yeah, sure. It's just an interesting thing that we've kind of found ourselves in, I'm definitely going to buy myself a Philly LeBron jersey. I just think it's really silly. I don't know why. But yeah, subscribe if you want to see NBA sports content, especially New York basketball. There will be a new Knicks video coming out in a few days. However, if you want to watch one on the Brooklyn Nets, check out this video here. Or here. One of the two.